All right, let's talk about something that is so frustrating. It's this weird paradox where you start earning more money, but somehow you still feel broke. How does that even happen? Let's get into it.
You know that feeling, right? You get the promotion, you see that new number on your paycheck, and you think, yes, finally, I've made it. But then a few months go by and you're feeling just as stretched, just as stressed as you were before. It's confusing, and trust me, it's an incredibly common feeling.
The expectation is so clear in our heads. More money should mean more freedom, more comfort, more stability. But the reality for so many of us, it's just the same old stress. That feeling of scarcity, of never quite having enough, just seems to stick around, no matter what the bank account says. So, if any of this is ringing a bell, the first thing you need to know is you are definitely not alone. And more importantly, this isn't just you being bad with money. There's some really powerful, kind of invisible forces at play here, and we're going to pull back the curtain on them. So the first thing we got to do is completely redefine what we mean by scarcity, because it's not just about the number on your paycheck. It's a feeling, a perception of your situation. Right, so when we're talking about scarcity, it's not about how much money is coming in. It's about how much of that money feels trapped or already spoken for. How much real flexibility and control do you have? You could have two people making the exact same salary, but one feels totally broke and the other feels comfortable. The difference? It all comes down to their level of constraints. Which leads us right to the first major reason for this feeling, what I like to call the golden handcuffs. This is that classic situation where your new, higher income almost immediately gets locked down by new, bigger obligations. Yeah, this is what everyone calls lifestyle creep, and it is so sneaky. That raise makes a bigger apartment or a nicer car suddenly seem doable. You sign up for a few more subscriptions, a gym membership, and none of these things are bad, but they are fixed costs. They take that wonderful, flexible money you just got and turn it into a rigid payment you have to make every single month. Okay, look at this chart because it shows it perfectly. On the left, you've got your old salary and your old fixed costs. Then, on the right, your salary goes up. Great. But look, your fixed costs shot right up with it. And that little gap at the top, that's your breathing room, your flexible cash. It's barely any bigger than it was before. And that's the trap right there. You look at your gross income and think you're doing great, but in your day-to-day reality, you have surprisingly little extra room to move. Your financial life got bigger, but it didn't necessarily get any more flexible. Okay, but it's not just about the math. There is a huge psychological piece to this puzzle. It's all about how our own internal goalposts just keep on moving. Let's be real. As humans, we are comparison machines. We almost never look at our income in a vacuum. We're constantly measuring it against what our friends are doing, what our neighbors have, or even just against the goals we set for ourselves last year. So as our income goes up, the people and lifestyles we compare ourselves to, they go up too. And it all boils down to this one powerful idea. That salary you used to dream about, the one you thought would solve everything, once you have it for a little while, it just feels normal. It becomes the new baseline, the new starting point from which you want more. And this creates this vicious cycle, right? Your income goes up, so you start looking at a new, slightly wealthier peer group. Your expectations for what a good lifestyle looks like adjust upward to match them. And then, bam! Despite making more money, that old feeling of scarcity comes right back. Now here's a huge one that I think gets overlooked all the time, the link between your time and your money. Being time poor is one of the fastest ways to feel money poor, no matter how much you earn. Because let's be honest, those higher paying jobs, they often demand way more from us. Longer hours, more responsibility, more stress. You're trading your time and your mental energy for that bigger paycheck. And that trade has real hard financial consequences. I mean, just think about it. When you're exhausted and constantly behind, you don't have the brain space to meal prep, or research a better insurance plan, or fix that leaky faucet yourself. You end up relying on expensive, convenient options like takeout and paying someone for everything. And when a surprise bill hits, you just have less capacity to deal with it, which makes the whole thing feel 10 times more stressful. So, we've talked about spending habits in psychology, but it's so critical to zoom out and see that this is not just an individual issue. We are all playing a game within a financial system that is built with its own set of rules. I mean, think about how our entire financial world is set up. Mortgages, car loans, phone contracts, yearly subscriptions. The whole system is built to reward long-term, predictable payments. Lenders and businesses love stability. They want to know that you're going to pay them the same amount on the same day every single month. So you see this total mismatch. The system rewards you for making these long-term commitments, but the result for you, the individual, is rigidity. It locks you in, it limits your options, and ironically, it can make you way more financially fragile. Because life isn't stable and predictable, and when something unexpected happens, all those rigid payments become an enormous weight. And this is why it is so important to get this. We feel all this financial stress, and we immediately turn it inward. We think, what am I doing wrong? I must be terrible with money. But so much of that feeling is actually structural. The system itself encourages us to trade away our flexibility, creating the perfect trap for feeling broke. So, if the real problem is that feeling of being constrained, then what's the real solution? It's not just more wealth, it's flexibility. The true opposite of scarcity is having the ability to adapt when life happens. It's having the room to breathe and make new choices, not just make the same payments over and over. Okay, so let's put it all together. That feeling of being broke is about so much more than your salary. It's this perfect storm of your fixed costs eating up your cash flow, your own expectations always moving the goalposts, and just not having enough time to manage everything well. And that brings us right back to where we started. A rising income absolutely can and should make your life more comfortable. But if we're not careful, if we're not aware of these forces, it can also just increase our constraints at the exact same time, leaving us feeling like we're just running on a treadmill. So I want to leave you with this final thought. We spend our whole lives being told to chase a higher income. But what if that's only half of the story? What would happen, what would our lives feel like if we started optimizing not just for more money, but for more flexibility?
All sources and references for this video are listed in the description below. This video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Please consult a licensed professional for your specific situation.